Hey guys, Donald here. I've got the review for the ASUS board. I'm just not proud about having to make this video. To be honest with you, that's really where this is going. I have been a major fan of ASUS for many years. Even though I was not using them for my Intel build. I use them for other Intel builds, other AMD builds, what have you. And I need to get this one off my chest. Chinese dinner tonight, lots of contemplating. So I've decided to just, at this point, bite the bullet. It's got to be done. ASUS, I'm sorry. You're not going to like this one. And here's why. Uh, First off, let me say this. For the price that I paid for the ASUS Prime X370 Pro, it's well worth it in price. Regarding support for certain things, it's a little shakier. Uh, I noticed some things after we did our original benchmarking. Um, and I mean original, when you guys were seeing it on the table. What you see behind me here now, I'm actually working on this system tonight for someone. They tend to get bugs, but again, here I go off. Here I go again on my own. So I digress. Let's come back. Um, the features on the board are nice. It really is. 8 SATA ports, an M.2 port for solid state, USB 3, 3.1. It's got a lot of perks, I'm not going to lie. It even has video hookups for, the later processors that have APU GPUs in them. So basically an APU processor, you're good. Now, let's do the pros first. Really nice build, really nice sleek look to it. It paired well look-wise, in my opinion, with the Mushkin Blackline Ridgeback RAM that I got. And again, I thank Mushkin for helping me choose that RAM. I really do. A plus. We've already said some of these. 64 gigs of RAM, max. And if I'm not mistaken, you can take it up to 31, 32. The website is actually changing, I think, weekly to bi-weekly now as to what this board's actually going to support. 8 SATA ports, really big plus because I love SATA. And I love having lots of storage drives as well. Yeah, it adds heat, but that's for another day. NVMe support. Again, M.2. And it supports the Ryzen CPU, which is really nice. The 1700X, we are running the newest BIOS update 0511. I had to reconfigure some things. It did bring the temp meter down. According to what I'm seeing here, and I will switch over to it for you guys. Looks like we are settling around 57 degrees doing what we're doing now. Now what I am going to do is make me a bit bigger here on this screen. Now, that being said, one of the issues that I feel is an issue is actually a lot bigger than what it is. Yes. But we're going to put one more pro in here because I actually had this listed under the wrong thing. I don't know how this happened. It has better PCIe um, express spacing for video cards, which I do like. However, a caveat in that is it needs a little bit more. I was actually debating whether or not to actually get a multi-LAN network card, with 2, 3, 4 network ports on it, and actually adding it into the system on a, 1X slot. However, as you guys saw with the build video, I would have that much room, that much between the back of that card and the video card, and it would essentially be blocking a fan. And at this point, I don't like it because of that. I like it because the PCI Express cards are definitely further apart. You're able to get some air in there if you've got a side fan right there. That is a plus. And also a negative. So I'm actually going to call that one a neutral point. Now, here's a negative thing that, again, this is all my opinion. Okay? Everybody's got one. You want to hate it, then hate it. But again, I digress. It does not have enough fan headers. Now, I think I could use the water pump fan header, literally for a water pump, for a fan. I don't know. I haven't tried. I'm not going to. Right now, we've got it set up just fine. We're not going to bring her clock speed up any higher than what it is right now until I can get a larger cooler. I also think that we're going to hit the bottleneck of 4.1 as, Linus and Jay and a few other people have possibly very well hit. I actually, not too long ago, because I do watch Jay occasionally, I did watch him try to push his system, an 1800, up to 4.2, and it would not take it. In order to get it stable on 4.1, now mind you, his system's water cooled, okay? He was hitting, just running Cinebench, 84.25 to 84.5, if I remember correctly. Don't take my word for it. Go watch his video. He literally states it in the video. He even shows it in the video if you can see it. So, that being said, because we just talked about voltage, let's talk about the VRMs. I think they need a better heatsink. I mean, don't get me wrong, the design is nice, it's sleek, but it's not efficient. I mean, it really isn't. It's just not efficient if you're going to water cool. If you're going to air cool and have air flowing right past that stuff, fine by me. It's fine. But when you put a water cooler on this, it's not fine. Okay? Now, off to our final point. And that's why I had the driver disc in the system again. After we got this set up, in the case, RAID and all, I discovered an issue almost right off the bat. I thought, okay, it's a fluke. We'll get over it. I'm like, alright, fine. Well, this issue wasn't a fluke. It was down and out right blatant. And I mean dead blatant. I contacted ASUS on this. I could barely hear the guy on the phone. I really could. And I kept telling him, dude, I can't hear you. I can barely hear you. Everybody else I talked to over at ASUS, I could hear them. But here's the largest issue of all in my eyes. Okay, this is my eyes only because I do use this feature still. RAID. Now, let me explain something. RAID, in general, is hot swappable. It literally is. For the server environment, you gotta be able to pull a drive out right on the fly, put a new drive in, rebuild your array, and put the system back up and running. You've got to be able to hot swap with RAID. Okay. Well, the first issue was this. We started booting the system up, and I noticed almost right off the bat some instability. Now, it wasn't blatant, but it was very, very subtle. It took longer for Windows to load out for some reason. So I said, all right, let's do this. I'll add one push of the plus button to the voltage, which is why we're sitting at, 1.2685, okay, at this point in time. I'm like, all right, I did that. Definitely stabilized. So I'm like, all right, this has got to be a CPU problem. All right, no big deal. Here's when we discovered the problem with the RAID. I actually went to load CPU-Z up finally. CPU-Z locked up, literally, the program itself locked up on storage. 65% locked up at storage. I'm sitting there going, maybe it's a bug with the program. I'll let it sit there, see what happens. Okay. I did. Nothing. And to prove this to you guys, I'm going to load CPU-Z up now. Now, when I do this, the screen should dim out. It should halt the video. I hope it keeps recording. So here we go. It seems I've got... There we go. We're at 5%. 77, 80, done. Okay? That, let me just go back to this. That image right there. It loaded up, bam, like that, done. I call ASUS because I know for a fact it is a problem with the controller. I call ASUS and I go, look, you've got a problem. They're like, well, what is that? I said, well, with this motherboard, you put it in a RAID, you can't hot swap another drive in. It's also causing an issue trying to load CPU-Z. They're like, well, what kind of issue is that? I said, it halts the load. It's storage. It literally was halting the load at 65%. On storage. Let's think about this for a minute. I started doing basic programming, basic stuff, basic HTML, web app, building a web page from scratch stuff. Back in high school, I had a friend help me learn it. He also taught me some basics with Visual Basic as well, which, I'm thankful for him for teaching me that. That being said, okay? That being said, I know a programming problem when I see one. with the ASUS M5A97R2.0. That is a socket AM3 Plus motherboard. The RAID worked fine. I was able to hot swap. I was able to do everything I could with the Haswell 4460 i5. The problem with this board, and I hope ASUS sees this, I hope they fix the problem. The problem with this board is this. When you enable RAID, you are no longer able to read the SMART. You're no longer able to read anything for the drives without entering the controller configuration, and you're not able to hot swap. That's running it through the RAID BIOS like you should, not the UEFI crap that they show you in the manual. I'm not kidding. They literally show you how to do this in the manual, and I'll tell you something else about that feature. Enabling, or no, to enable the RAID in the BIOS so you can configure it in UEFI, you got to turn something off. Yeah, you actually have to turn something off. And it's something that most people would actually use. So let's see. We're going to read this from the manual. RAID support. Here it is. Right here. Now, supposedly, this board only supports RAID 0, 1, and 1 plus 0, or better known as 10. Okay, fine. Okay. Goes over installing serial ATA hard disks, yada yada yada. Okay. Now, you must enable the RAID function in the BIOS setup before creating RAID sets using serial ATA hard disks. Okay, yeah, duh. However, because I was using the option ROM, I'm going to take you guys through the steps. Okay? Enter the BIOS during post. Go to Advanced Menu, SATA Configuration. Press Enter. Go to the Boot menu. Oh, set the SATA configuration mode selection to RAID. I'm sorry, I missed step 3. Forgive me. Step 4. Go to the Boot menu. Compatibility Support Module. Launch CSM. Then set the item to disable. Let me let you in on a little secret. For those of you that get an M.2 drive for your OS, if you do this, and I'm proving it to you right here, right there, if you do step number 4, you, believe it or not, lose your ability to boot to that, according to the BIOS. That's according to the UEFI BIOS. I'm not kidding. It really is according to it. Once you do that, though, you reboot the options there. For the RAID Expert 2 configuration utility. Okay? And I will get some feed at some point pointed at my system here on one of these 3 screens. It's more than likely going to be monitor number 1. Showing you that yes, it actually says it. Now, for the option ROM, there seem to be more options in there, okay? But that being said, because I am trying to keep this video short, you know, I'm already over 5 minutes. But I don't care. When somebody calls you and says, hey, there's a problem. You've got a software problem. You've literally got a bug in your software. Listen to them. What we've had to do, because the raid was definitely slower and buggy, we had to turn it off. So now all of the 250 Mushkin reactor drives are in the system running standalone. Now, I could do a software raid, and if I lose a drive, I can always rebuild it. You know, do a raid 1. I just, I'm not impressed anymore. I'm not happy anymore. This board, I'm gonna keep the board. You know, I am hoping at some point they actually fix it. But I'm gonna say this: there comes a time when you realize maybe you shouldn't have done something. You know, in this case, I think I'm starting to realize maybe I shouldn't have moved these drives off of the Intel board. I mean, we had a really nice running fast system in the raid and everything else. I mean, the system is still peppy. But trust me when I say you can see a difference. So, that being said, guys, you know, that is everything I have to say at this point in time about the ASUS Prime X370. You know, again, I wrote this, you know, I wrote this list here out days ago. Days ago. And I've been debating whether or not I should do it. In the end, I said, we're doing it. Because it needs to be known. Now, that being said, I'm hoping that when Brit's motherboard comes in, I do the test on his, it's not an issue. Because if it's not an issue, then that there proves it's a program issue. It's a controlling program issue. Because my system runs fine just on regular AHCI. It really does. So we're going to find out. If he has the same problem, then that's going to be a caveat on the crosshair. You know, I don't want to ding ASUS, but I would give them, you know, in a grand total of 5 stars, I'd give them about 3 right now. You know, just for the sheer fact of, you know, when I called support, I heard the guy say it, barely, but I heard the guy say, he's like, well, that's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to do that. Well, no shit. Tell me something I don't know. Plain and simple. Come on. You know, I work in customer service support for a company. Okay? And if the channel gets big enough, I'll leave my job. I really will. I'll write my resignation and I'll leave it. But let me say something. You call into a support person, don't yell at them. Don't cop an overly aggressive attitude with them. They're there to help you. However, when the support person is not trying to help you and has a smart aleck attitude and goes, well, that's not supposed to happen. Like, dude, really? I know it's not supposed to happen. Plain and simple. Look, I have done customer service support for Comcast, and I was showing up even those training us, because I had someone tell me that The fiber lines, if somebody rips out a pole that run between the two poles, the fiber that does run between the poles occasionally, I was told that, oh, you can't break them. Yeah, you can. Fiber's glass, people. Plain and simple. It doesn't matter how much you reinforce it. It's going to crack and break. How do I know this? I have 3/4 of a degree in IT. I should honestly go back and finish my damn degree. I really should. I should go back to school and finish it. But I can't. I have other obligations I have to meet. I would love to go back and finish it. I think the only way that's going to happen is if I win the lottery. So, that being said, I'm done ranting, getting off topic and everything else. Um, you know, that being said, guys, take it for what you take it, like it if you like it, hate it if you hate it. Don't forget to share it. I'm not one of those people that I'm a fan of ASUS, I'm going to admit it. But I'm also a fan of Gigabyte as well. I'm not a big fan of ASRock, and I'm not an overly big fan of MSI. Although MSI does make some really good stuff, I'm just not a big fan of them. You know, I'll use their stuff if it's given to me, but this is how I feel about this review. This review, the whole review is just damn depressing in my eyes. You know, the rate is slower. The VRM heatsinks for their dissipation is weak at best. This is an X370 motherboard, guys. You should be able to overclock without having a VRM issue. You know, the fan headers, I'm nitpicking that one. But the PCI Express spacing and everything else, no choice. So, guys, peace out. See you later. And let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like, hate it if you hate it, subscribe. Don't forget to share and ask others to subscribe as well, you know. See if they want to. But have fun, guys. Donald out.